Well, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to another edition of Monday Motions, where we talk about living intentionally the lives that we lead. So I was in high school, and something unique that I had was access to a car. I say it that way because I didn't have a car. My family had two cars, and they were very generous and allowed me to use it on a regular basis. So unlike a lot of my other friends who didn't have access to a car, let alone having a car, I became a source of transportation. And so a lot of my friends would call me. I don't want to say they used me. I don't think they were being malicious, but I was the only way to get around for some of them. So I would get a lot of calls. Hey, can you take me here? You want to go here? What are you doing this weekend? One of my friends called me up and told me about a concert he wanted to go to that weekend. I said, you want to go? I'll pay for your ticket. It's like $5. Just drive me, let's go. And I didn't want to go. I knew the group, I hated their music. I didn't even like the style of music. But the reality was I still said yes because I hated disappointing people. So I end up at the concert, the music's terrible, I didn't love it, but I'm just there hanging out. And at one point, this mosh pit, this fighting breaks out in the middle of this group. And the girl in front of me, it's me and then her, I don't know who she was, just a stranger at the concert. It's me and then her and then this group fighting, these two guys pushing and shoving. And one of them falls back into the girl in front of me and she falls back into me. And she's got this crazy spiky hair with a gallon of product in it, so it's sharp as nails. And one of those spikes goes straight into my eye. I didn't wear eyeglasses, and so it just poked me right in my eyeball. It was terrible. I don't know if I've ever felt that kind of searing pain as I just grab my face and I'm asking myself, why am I even here? I hate this music. Why didn't I just say no? Are you one of those people that has a hard time saying no? Are you one of those people that's just bad at no, a bad no person? If you're not, you might have a hard time understanding this, but if you are, you instantly know what I mean. You just say yes, because saying no comes at such a great risk in our mind. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons why we might struggle with that. We feel the need, the compulsion to prove that we're good enough, whether that's volunteering at church or doing things for our family, or that we're that good friend that's always there for people that need us. It comes from a good place, and yet it starts to cut in on our life, doesn't it? We say yes, 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 yes. We can't say those magic two letters, no. So maybe we're trying to prove we're good enough. Maybe we fear rejection. If I don't go to the concert with my friends, maybe they won't invite me next time. If I don't do everything my spouse asks the minute they ask, or my kids want me to do, or my coworkers ask me to do, maybe they're going to cut me out next time. And so we don't say no. Maybe we're just afraid we're going to look selfish. We've grown up in a family maybe where we were told that it was selfish to say no, that we needed to be giving. We might be part of churches where it's very much frowned upon to say no. Everyone's supposed to do their duty, right? That sounds okay, but what happens when you can't say yes to everything? And we're in danger of looking selfish. We're just terrified of being labeled as selfish. Maybe we're afraid of losing some status that we have. Maybe our saying yes has built up this persona that we're afraid to lose. Maybe if we don't say yes to that committee, they're not going to ask us to be on it next time. So we don't take the risk of saying no, we just say yes. And whatever it is, when we're that kind of person that struggles with not actually using our no, is that the desires that we're going against, the things that we really want to do, they don't go away, do they? And they end up coming out like a little kid throwing a tantrum where they're just raging around and screaming and yelling. I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of families use this phrase. Our kid, Whitney, and my kid is too young to throw a real tantrum yet. He's just 11 months old, so he's just a little baby. But when kids are old enough to throw a legitimate tantrum, they're not getting their way. I've heard this phrase, people say, use your words. Let's use our words. Because ultimately, when we're not saying yes to things that we want and need consistently, we're just pushing them down. Those things come out, don't they? And so if we just think, well, I'll just never say no and it's not going to matter, it does matter, doesn't it? And it comes out. We turn bitter. We get angry. We start to be resentful of the people we're saying yes to. We feel controlled. We feel pushed into the corner. It doesn't help us just to say yes. And yet, maybe you're the person who doesn't have a hard time saying no. You're very much able to say, no, I'm not going to do this. No, I'm not going to do that. And yet you might be, ironically, the kind of person that has a hard time saying yes. To say yes to something that deviates from the norm, right? Maybe your family is the family that, oh, we always watch football every Sunday, or we always do this, or every summer we do that. We're a family that we all go to the school and do this kind of job, right? We're all doctors, we're all teachers, we're all in ministry. I don't know what it is, but you find yourself the kind of person that your family goes to the beach every summer and you're realizing you hate going to the beach. But yet, what are they going to think if you start doing something that's different? Your family's all excited for you to be a doctor like them, and yet you want to be a teacher. What's going to happen if you say yes to something different than they say yes to? And so we find ourselves almost like stifling things we want to do. We say yes and yes and yes and yes, but in reality, we're not saying yes to the things that we really want to. We're afraid of deviating from the norm. Maybe we're afraid, again, to look selfish. Maybe we're afraid that maybe people are going to think less of us. We're afraid to say yes. Maybe we're afraid to enjoy things, right? I had a professor in college who was a fantastic gentleman, but one of the quirks about him was that he was so terrified of like basically enjoying things too much. He had that good old like vague Protestant guilt. We're just like afraid that we might be doing something wrong. We're not sure what it is, but we're just afraid we might be doing something wrong. That vague guilt. He had us all over to his house as theology students one day, and had little vespers, and afterwards had some ice cream. And I still remember this. This has been like almost 20 years now, but he had his little bowl of ice cream and he took a bite and you could tell he was just uncomfortable. And he looked over at us like, I don't like to eat a lot of ice cream. I know it's not healthy, but just, every now and then I like to have like a little bite, just a little bit, just a little taste. Not too much so, maybe I should be vegan. Anyway, I was sitting there and I'm watching this man eat ice cream under duress. And I had to ask myself, if you really don't want to eat ice cream, then just don't eat ice cream. Say no. But if you're going to say yes, give it a hearty yes and eat that ice cream and enjoy it, right? Like Jesus said, let your yes be yes and your no be no. Some of us maybe are afraid of God. We're afraid to say yes to things that we're like, well, I don't know, maybe if I make a mistake, what's God going to say? Or if I say no, is God going to really be happy if I say no to being on that board at church, being part of that ministry at church? What if I say no and do something else? And underneath at the bottom of it is all this reality that we're just afraid, right? We're afraid of God. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid of looking foolish to people that might disapprove of us saying yes to something they don't say yes to. And yet the ancient rabbis have this belief that in the judgment, not only will we be held accountable for what we do, which many of us believe, but they believed that we would be accountable for things we didn't do. Moments of joy that we passed up, moments of love and mystery and magic and enjoyment that God had provided for us in this beautiful world, and we wouldn't say yes to it because we were afraid. They believed that we'd be held accountable for that. Not like sent to hell or something necessarily like that, not something so powerful as that, but that God would say, I gave you the opportunity to live life and enjoy life, and you skipped it. Why? God is a God of joy, of love. He created this world and he said, it's good. And so as you enter this week, as you enter this week, may your yes be yes and your no be no, to live confidently, to realize that God is not a God that's waiting for opportunity to punish you. If you say no to things that you realize later you should say yes, you start saying yes. If you say no, say yes, start saying no. God gives us that opportunity to grow. He says, may your yes be yes and your no be no, because he wants us to live confidently in this world. So may your words carve out a space for you. If you're a person that's bad at no, take an opportunity today to think of a way that you might say no and just do it. Live with the discomfort for a moment and enjoy the space that your no that God's given you can create. If you're someone that's afraid of saying yes because it deviates from the norm, take a little courage and say yes. Carve out that space today. Live courageously. Let your yes be yes and your no